The battle between the inner and outer gods had finally reached its climax, with the outer gods absolutely obliterating the inner gods. The great sage, Sun Wukong, did not want to accept defeat, but he had no other option. Hercules reminds him how weak the inner gods are compared to the outer ones. Kim Yuwon and some other inner gods were on a journey to find the outer god Kronos. However, only Kim managed to survive and find Kronos. The gods had no other option but to return to the old world line and start over. Kronos further explained that they will only have one chance, as he won't be present in the old world line. Now, it was time to decide who will go back in time. Following a brief discussion, it was concluded that Kim should be the one to go back, as he was the one who entered the tower at the end and adapted at an exponential speed. Kim knew that he would have a hard time, but he was up for the task. After activating the spell, Kim retrospected back in time. Having lost all those hard-earned stats and arcane power, he was feeling quite weak. He figured out that he was back in his university days when he was still a student. The first thing Kim had to do was to figure out how much time he had before the commencement of the tutorial, which changed everything. Following a brief brawl with one of his seniors, Kim Myung-hoon, who was trying to bully him, Kim figured out that only 9 hours were left before the tutorial. Kim Myung-hoon was supposed to meet up with his friends at a bar, as New Year was right around the corner. However, he got a bit late and got scolded. His friends asked him about his brawl with Kim, and of course he lied by saying that he absolutely obliterated Kim. After beating Myung-hoon up, Kim warned him that he has a little time left. As they were leaving the bar, Myung-hoon and his friends spotted Kim, who was carrying a suitcase full of weapons like swords and knives. They intercepted, hoping that they'll beat him up. But after witnessing the suitcase full of weapons, they got scared and ordered Myung-hoon to apologize. Kim Yuwon, on the other hand, was preparing for the first trial, which will begin in exactly 3 minutes. He warned Myung-hoon and his friends once again to be prepared. It was finally 12 a.m., and the first trial had commenced. Unlike other citizens, Kim was fully prepared. He further explained that his former self would have been satisfied with just surviving, but that won't be enough this time around. He was the first one to kill a zombie in his area and obtained valuable 100 points. As he levels up, his stats will enhance and it will get easier to fight tough opponents. After witnessing Kim Yuwon kill zombies so effortlessly, other people thought that they are weak, but they were not. Kim had actually discovered their weak point in his previous life. A survivor had told him that the zombies are weak to salt, so he brought lots of salt with him and coated his sword with it. After killing almost 100 zombies in just 10 minutes, Kim received 3 unallocated stat points, which he can use whenever he wants. Kim Myung-hoon and his friends, on the other hand, were having a hard time facing these zombies. They concluded that sticking alongside Kim Yuwon is their best bet to survive. Kim was listening to all this and decided to sprinkle some salt in the air to help them. The first trial had concluded, and Kim was the one who killed most enemies and received 3,000 points. Before the beginning of the second trial, an unexpected announcement was made explaining to all survivors how they can improve their chances of survival. And it was finally time for the second trial. For the second trial, the survivors were instructed to stay inside a safe zone. Kim Myung-hoon started looking for Kim Yuwon immediately after the announcement. He pretended that he wants to help him, being his upperclassman, but Kim Yuwon just pushed him away, saying that he should stay inside the safe zone like a good boy. Frustrated, Myung-hoon rushed towards the safe zone and entered it. Following him, other people also tried entering the safe zone, but they couldn't, as the safe zone had a limited capacity of 38 people. Following this, huge earthworms appeared out of nowhere and started attacking people outside the safe zone. Once again, Kim Yuwon was the first one to kill an earthworm and gained points. He used his enhanced senses to locate the worms and obliterate them. He also managed to locate their nest, and it was time for some worm hunting. The situation outside was getting crazier with each passing minute as the safe zone was getting even smaller. Myung-hoon figured that there is no other way but to kill each other to decide who gets to stay inside the safe zone. It was survival of the fittest. Myung-hoon further grabbed an old man and announced that he will kill him to survive. Kim, on the other hand, had reached level 20 after a hectic grind of 3 hours. He also obtained the arcane skill, which will eventually become the basis for all the power he gains in the future. He also used his unallocated skills to further enhance his arcane power. Following this, he sensed that an administrator's lackey was watching over him, so he called him over to buy something from the shop. The lackey was shocked to know that Kim wanted to buy a skill in Trail 2. Using his points, he bought the Monket's Eyes and a basic arcane sword. He was a bit worried that the administrators might suspect him of cheating and send him back, but after thinking about it a little, he concluded that there is no way they'll figure it out. After wandering around a little, he managed to find the boss of second tutorial Motherworm, and it was time for battle. After a brutal battle, Kim Yuwon managed to kill the Motherworm and the second tutorial unexpectedly ended. Myung-hoon, on the other hand, was ready to kill the old man to survive this round. However, Kim's victory saved all of them. After defeating the Motherworm, Kim was taking a much-deserved rest. The lackey offered to heal him, but Kim refused. Defeating the final boss means that Kim was supposed to receive some sort of reward. He had figured that the lackeys were not expecting him to defeat the Motherworm, so it took some time for them to decide on the reward. After some discussion, Lackey offered Kim 3 options. The first was to skip the 3rd and 4th tutorials and jump straight to the 5th one. The second one was to receive 10000 points and continue his journey. The third one was a meeting with Olympus. Kim was shocked after hearing the 3rd option, but he still chose the 2nd one. He had figured out that the lackeys had made this decision on their own as Olympus had bought them, and he wanted to meet him. After receiving 10000 points, Kim used his 1,000 points to request a meeting with one of the administrators. The administrator accepted his offer immediately as he had heard a lot about him. In his meeting with the administrator, Kim told him that Olympus is interfering with the tutorial through the lackeys. This enraged the administrator, and he destroyed the lackey. After receiving thanks from administrator, Kim requested that he should receive a reward for his services. The administrator agreed and allowed Kim to shake his hand. Kim thought that administrator will only transfer some points to him, but much to his surprise, he was granted the skill Master of Mana. Following this, the administrator went back to his realm, and Kim continued his grinding to become even stronger. The people outside, on the other hand, were slightly relieved after this tutorial. But Myung-hoon reminded them that there can be more tutorials after this, so they should listen to him if they want to survive. As they were talking, they witnessed a person walking on the streets and killing an earthworm. It was Kim. He asked them to ignore him and continue their discussion. Seeing that Kim had somehow managed to survive outside the safe zone, Myung-hoon started pretending again that he cares about him. Kim, on the other hand, realized that Myung-hoon is trying to act as the survivors' leader and forcing them to do things like collect supplies. As they were arguing, the 2nd tutorial ended and the 3rd one commenced. Kim headed out once again to do some grinding. The 3rd tutorial was to kill 50 monsters and acquire 50 essences. For normal humans, it was impossible, and they decided to stay inside the safe zone. Kim wanted to test his new skill by using the mana essence he had collected in the previous tutorial. It took all he had just to shoot a mana beam, but he was happy as long as he was making progress. Meanwhile, some other survivors were wandering around in the Hongdae station looking for food. After they discovered a convenience store, a swarm of monsters attacked them. Even though their levels were high, they were no match for them. A girl named Jo Yeon was being attacked by some rat monster. As she thought that she was going to die, someone saved her. It was Kim Ju-won, whose pleasant sleep they had disturbed by screaming. After obliterating all the monsters in the area, Kim handed over some healing potion to the strangers, Seong-chan and Jo Yeon. They thanked him and tried to warn him about the dangers, but little did they know that these monsters are nothing compared to Kim. They also told Kim about the dire situation people were in outside the station. The survivors were killing each other just to survive and collect essence. Following this discussion, both of them followed Kim to the 2nd basement level where a dungeon had appeared. In exchange for helping them, Kim asked them to run and attract monsters so that he can do some grinding. It was a good proposal considering the fact that both of them are far too weak to survive on their own. According to them, Kim was even more menacing compared to the monsters and people outside. Seong-chan and Kim had a brief conversation regarding their levels as they were waiting for Jo Yeon to return from the dungeon. Kim told Xiongchan to kill some monsters and level up as well. As they were conversing, Joyeon came back with a swarm of monsters following her. After finishing them off, Kim asked Joyeon and Xiongchan to follow as it was time for them to head out. Myung-hoon, on the other hand, was acting as the leader and had gathered almost 50 men under him. They were threatening other survivors to hand over their essence, otherwise they will kill them. In the midst of all this, Kim appeared with a huge bag full of essence. There were at least 1,000 essence in that bag. In exchange for these essence, he demanded 100 points each. As you cannot buy essence from the store, the survivors had no other choice but to buy them from Kim. However, Myung-hoon had some other ideas. Instead of buying essence fair and square, he accused Kim. According to him, Kim had collected these essence by killing and stealing them from other survivors. Joyeon and Xiongchan spoke in favor of Kim, saying that Myung-hoon is the one who is killing and stealing. He also killed their friends for essence. Myung-hoon ordered some of his lackeys to ambush Kim and kill him. As soon as they crossed the line Kim had created, he decapitated them. However, this was not enough. Myung-hoon ordered all his subordinates to attack Kim, but all of this was useless as Kim killed all of them with ease. With this, the other survivors realized that they have no other option but to buy essence from Kim. They sold their weapons and stats in exchange for points. After all this, Joyeon and Xiongchan asked Kim if they could accompany him. Kim refused by saying that they should not rely on anyone. Also, he was not going ahead as he had sold all of his essence. After this, Kim tried to open shop, but instead of a lackey, the administrator appeared himself. He told Kim that he has disturbed the balance of ecosystem with his power. Following their brief conversation, Kim bought some really high-level stuff from the shop. With this, the administrator vanished, and Kim was all alone. The time limit for the third tutorial had concluded, and it was time for the annihilation process. Thousands of trash-class demons and other creatures appeared out of nowhere and started destroying everything. However, the creature Kim was waiting for is a low-class demon Surutra. Follow if you want to zap into the latest anime trends and hit the subscribe button so you never miss any update from us.